Greenhouse Studios really comes out of the interests and experiences and unique kind of disciplinary milieu of Greenhouse Studio staff and the UConn campus. For me, I guess my interest in issues of art and design regarding the publication and dissemination of scholarship, excuse me, starts really just after I graduated from college. When I first graduated from college, my first job out of undergraduate was working with the Colorado Historical Society on public history projects. From there, I went on to graduate school in history and continued to be interested in how expert knowledge and history and science are communicated to audiences, and my dissertation focused on those issues. At the same time, this was at the very beginning of the very early days of the World Wide Web, and increasingly we were experimenting with ways to transmit historical information and historical knowledge through the new technologies of the internet. The most formative years in my career working with the Roy Rosenzweig Center for History and New Media at George Mason University, where I was for 10 years before coming to UConn. In those years, I worked with a great set of colleagues and my mentor, Roy Rosenzweig, to develop a range of resources and tools for doing humanities scholarship, humanities education, and community engagement around historical and humanistic topics with a great set of colleagues. We built tools, we built software, we built educational resources, digital archives, and a lot of other things. A great 10-year period of experimentation in those areas. When I got to UConn, I landed in the Department of Digital Media and Design, where we were just building a program in digital humanities. I have an affiliate appointment in the history department, and those connections, and then in turn connections to the library, where a lot of my work has over the years touched on and intersected with library and information sciences, digital archives, and those kinds of matters. The natural connection at UConn for doing the kind of work that we do at Greenhouse Studios was between the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the School of Fine Arts, where digital media is located, and the library. And so we, colleagues in those three units, got together and launched Greenhouse Studios as an interdisciplinary incubator for doing the kind of public and audience-focused scholarly publication in many formats that we do. As I said, we came together in, 2014, 2015, soon after Clarissa Seglio and I arrived at UConn. I had known Greg Colati for years and years before that. We got together to start discussing how we could create this kind of interdisciplinary incubator at UConn. And it was, we wanted to, we didn't want the name to determine too much of what the new unit would do, right? So we knew we didn't want to put words like digital or humanities or art or design or history or any of those kinds of words in the name. before we did the work of understanding the kinds of needs and the kinds of audiences that existed at UConn and outside of UConn for the kind of work that we wanted to do. So we started off with a kind of placeholder name to call this new thing that we were building, and we called it the Spring Hill Effort. Spring Hill is the U.S. Geological Survey quadrant in which UConn sits. So we called it the Spring Hill Effort, and that stayed that way for about a year. And we went through a design process, a listening process, where we reached out to people all over campus, to colleagues at other institutions, to get a sense of what kinds of words would resonate with them, what kinds of words might describe the goals we wanted to achieve. Greenhouse came out of a set of discussions around growth and the idea of growing a new project from its very earliest beginnings, from starting kind of from seed and planting a seed and letting it blossom. We knew that we fundamentally, at the heart of all Greenhouse Studios work, would be collaboration. And we wanted to start with that collaboration. And now we call our design process a collaboration first design process. We wanted collaboration and people to sit at the heart of all the projects that we do, that those people and their unique backgrounds and experiences and interests and aspirations would be the seed of all the projects that we would undertake. And so we wanted that kind of strong notion of starting with you know, sort of the life force of the people involved, and you know, fertilizing it and watering it and watching it grow. So Greenhouse kind of came out of that idea. There was also a joke that when we were early on, people kind of called our little group Tom's Treehouse, because we were sort of like a gang of kids up in the fourth floor of the library where we kind of hung out temporarily. So that greenhouse word came out of some of those ideas and those conversations. The word studios, we didn't want to call it a center. We didn't want to call it an institute, because those words have particular institutional meanings in universities, and especially at UConn. We didn't want to call it a lab because that sounded a little too sciencey for what we wanted to undertake. And we hit upon this word studio, which had a more kind of arts inflected meaning to it, and we liked that because we knew we'd be doing a lot of digital work just based on who we were, but we also wanted a strong strain of art and design to influence what we did, and so the studio word brought that into the mix, and ultimately we decided on studios for kind of two reasons. One, because it suggested that Greenhouse wouldn't just be one thing. We wouldn't just be like a ceramics studio, or we wouldn't just be a studio for graphic design or something. We would be many different kinds of studio. So studios. It was also a kind of let's call it grandeur of our aspirations to call it studios, like we were Universal Studios or Hollywood Studios or some big operation like that, even though we were literally just a couple of people hanging out in secret on the fourth floor of the library. You know, students are at the center of everything we do, and we aim to provide a kind of unique opportunity for students at Greenhouse Studios. As I said earlier, all of our projects start with the people, right? People are at the heart of what we do. We try not, at least, to just assign people to projects that we've come up with in advance. What we like to do is we like to bring a group of people together to decide on the contours of the project, to decide on what the project is going to be, to bring, as I said, their unique experiences and skills and aspirations and needs, learning needs and other needs to the mix. And for those resources and those constraints that they bring to the work, for those to define what the product, whatever it is, a book, a website, a piece of software, an animation, whatever it is, for those human elements, for those human needs and aspirations to determine what it's going to be. And that includes not just the faculty members on the projects or the staff members on the projects. That includes the students on the projects, both undergraduates and graduate students. And so we bring on undergraduates and graduates as equal members of the team. They are there from the beginning. They're there to help decide what the thing we're going to build is going to be. And so the students at Greenhouse, I think, get an opportunity that's not just kind of working on faculty research, and it's certainly not just kind of pushing papers, but really a creative opportunity, an opportunity to express themselves and to create a kind of portfolio piece for them to bring out into the world that they can call their own. And we make sure that all students at Greenhouse are able to put their names on the projects they work on as full authors alongside the faculty and the staff. So that's the kind of ethic, we want for everybody who works with Greenhouse, everybody who Greenhouse touches, that everybody owns what it is we do, and students are, students are people just like everybody else. So students are part of that. A lot of times what a creative can do is, well, a couple of things. One thing a creative can do is help expand the range of possibilities that a group of academics, sort of, or what you might call subject area experts, subject matter experts, can expand the range of possibilities that they can imagine. Oftentimes, people come into a project and they can only think of, well, I spend my whole day writing journal articles, so whatever it is I'm doing is going to be a journal article. You can help expand, help them to imagine other possibilities for the content that they'll help create. At the same time, you can pull them back and introduce some constraints to suggest that, if we only have 2 years of work and only, this number of hours from the people on the project, maybe we're not going to build you that rocket ship. Maybe we're going to build you something, maybe a dinghy or something a little smaller. So I think creatives and artists are especially good at scoping projects, both in sort of expanding their scope to expand the range of possibilities, and then to narrow things down and constrain the realm of possibilities when it's time to get to work.